Hello, hello, everybody. Welcome. Thank you guys for being here. Julian is off getting married, and then he's going to run off to a honeymoon, so he is not with me this week or next. So my good friend George here has agreed to co-host with me this week and next, which is amazing. I'm super happy about that. So we have Mike and Cary with us, who both have been here. They've been here together because the show flowed so well with them together. I have kept them together because it has worked so well. So I am going to go ahead and let them introduce themselves, as well as George, if you guys aren't familiar with him. And then I see the questions are flowing in, so we will get to those. So thank you all for being here. Richard and Mark are dropping links to everybody's channels. If you're not subscribed, definitely check them out. And yeah, so here is Mike.
Hey, I'm Mike, the Golden State Picker. I am in California, specifically Silicon Valley, where gas prices are about $6 a gallon.
Nice.
Yeah, I know. It's
That's
great,
it.
huh?
That's wild.
Gas is $6. That's
Going to
it.
7.
That's so crazy. That's so crazy. All right. We'll all say how much gas is. Okay, Cary, go.
$3.89. $3.89. I just filled that. It's not that bad, right? I'm Cary. I'm Cary, guys, aka American Arbitrage. I'm the annoying guy on TikTok and Instagram that's always on the Reels or the TikToks. I'm on YouTube. I resell. I've been doing it for like 11 years, I think, and I'm okay at it, I guess. I love it. It's something I love to do.
All right. Here is George.
Hello, I'm George. I'm the Antique Nomad, and I've got a channel, and I mainly do antique and vintage, but I'm a reseller in the real world as well as online, and I do appraisals, and I've got a live channel too, and I just love doing all this stuff, so I kind of just am all over the place.
And Cary and George. Mike, have you jumped on the Whatnot train?
No.
Dude.
So
No,
both
I-
of the guys
fun.
on that side of the screen are on it. George and Cary both are on Whatnot. So that is
I don't know how to
definitely
squeeze another 5 minutes out of my day. That's my problem.
All you need is an extra 6 to 8 hours a day, and you're good.
That's
Exactly.
yeah,
It's
no
just
just
sleep.
a wee little bit. A wee little bit.
Just a little bit.
All right, this is kind of funny. So Richard is normally the first one here, but Duncan normally has the first question, and Richard took Duncan's question. That Duncan always asks first, so he beat Duncan to it. So any tip or tips you would give to new resellers?
Well, mine's pretty straightforward. I have a policy of don't buy just to buy, and I would say be very cautious with what you buy at first. Learn your categories, specifically yourself, and then just buy smart and list and no death pile. So those would be mine. Continually list and stay away from a death pile.
That's pretty good. I would use your phone for everything. Be super curious. Anything that seems even remotely interesting, look it up on eBay. Check the sold listings. And honestly, I'm a little different than Mike. I would take small risks here and there to educate yourself. Don't take, silly risks. But if you see that this is, $2 or $3 and it's selling, at $10 or $11 fairly often, I would go ahead and buy it and see how it works for you. Just be curious. And yeah,
that's a good one. I'm curious. I always like that. Curious is good.
And I would say it depends on what you want to do with your reselling. If you are just wanting to get started and test the waters, you might want to stick to a bunch of merchandise that's at least somewhat similar. So you're developing the same market, and people who buy one thing might see something else they like. I mean, combined shipping, especially if you're selling online, especially because that's all going to go up with the gas going up. There's going to be fuel charges. So picking something where somebody who gets one thing of yours might buy another thing is a good way to get started. Plus, you'll learn more about a particular kind of niche, and then you can expand out from there.
Yeah. And I am the opposite of George. I kind of go everywhere because I can't find a lot of one thing locally. So it's hard for me just being in the middle of nowhere. I would say buy low. I'm like Cary, and that's how I learn a lot of my high BOLO items, guys. If something catches my eye, I'm looking it up. And that gets better and better the more you do. You kind of develop an eye to pick stuff up. But don't spend too much. I think as a new reseller, it's really easy to forget that like your fees with shipping and supplies are easily going to rack up to 30 to 40%. And you might not be figuring that when you see, oh, it's $2 and sells for 10, that $4 of that might go to fees and your shipping supplies. So I always say buy low. I'm going to stick with that. I love finding lots for $1. George's pens. George's pens have made me over $100. So I went to an estate sale George did, and his pens were, I think, 50 cents or $1. And I sold 5 Nexium pens for $40 last night. And I've sold several other sets. So I made over $100 off of pens for 50 cents. So yeah, that's where, like, if it catches your eye, look it up. And advertising stuff does pretty well from what I've seen, especially the pharmaceutical stuff.
Well, and think about what you know, because Kat knew that because she worked in the industry, so she knew that they weren't doing that anymore. And so, that's, I guess, the truth is, Kat, of course, I'm all over the place too, and you'll get that way really fast. But if you start with things that you know and then add knowledge, then you can broaden out, and it's a great thing.
And your superpower, let me use that word. Your superpower as a reseller typically is going to be what you're interested in naturally. Like I sell a lot of sports cards. It doesn't work for a lot of people because they're not interested in it. But I grew up loving it. And then that's something I just naturally went into. So if you love the antiques, if you have that pharmaceutical background, or you know a lot about sports or a lot about shoes or whatever it is, that could be something that you can niche into, or at least be one of your niches among many that you can flip.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I've gotten into a lot of like the Native American stuff because I'm really interested in it. And like Cary said, I love it. So I've really like picked up an eye for that. I actually am bidding on some Native American stuff now that I will go pick up Friday. But I absolutely love it. All right, Duncan, question 1. This is not, well, it might be a little true. He said, thanks to me, several death pile. We have a Facebook group, Death Pile Destruction, if you guys don't know. He's saying they quit their jobs to resell. What do you think that sellers need before quitting a job? 6 months of income or enough daily sales to cover bills and rent? Or what would you suggest if somebody were thinking about going full time to be prepared for it?
Yeah, I think you definitely have to have, I would say even a year. That's just me. Okay. So you can really figure it out, but you got to have a really good sales stream before you go in, a consistent sales stream, a consistent listing pattern, the ability to have, you're going to run into some issues down the road. So you've got to, kind of understand all that kind of stuff and really have a great knowledge of everything from listing to shipping. And, that's it. You just gotta kind of jump in. You'll know. All I can tell you is I think you will know when it's time. Personally, that was me, and it just was there. It was like, okay, I got this. This is time. It helps to be debt free. I will tell you that. Debt free.
You have to want to be a reseller as a job, because it's a job. A lot of people kind of quit their job and I'm just going to go and free flow, and they're not prepared. I was one of them. Many people do that. And you have to know that this is a job. You have to treat it like a job. Having so much time is a burden at sometimes, because when you're part-time, you only have this amount of time to post, this amount of time to find stuff. And when you're full-time, your whole day, to a certain degree, depending on if you have kids and whatnot, is open. And if you're not focused, you can lose a lot of your time and actually get less done. So you have to want to do this as an actual job and be ready to make that kind of a commitment. It's not something you can do halfway, or else you will fail and you will go back to a regular job. It's just going to happen.
100%, Cary. Perfect.
Yep. I agree with that. In my case, I did put aside 6 months of income and bills. I had that all paid off before I actually quit doing the other job. And I picked up related part-time work at first too, just as sort of a cushion. Like I worked in an antique store part-time while I was also flipping on the side and things like that. Now, the other thing is that I think this is really important, because I got into trouble the first time I was a reseller. And it doesn't matter if you have an eBay store or an Etsy platform or a real world store. Reinvest your money. Know what you put into this stuff. And when you sell something, because here's what happened the first time. I had a store and I sold $1,000 worth of stuff, and that was great. And I took $500 out of it to live on and spend, because that was my profit. Well, then, you know, half of the stuff didn't sell. Well, then, so, you know, half of your stuff is like starting to get stale. Then you buy a bunch more stuff. Half of it sells. Well, pretty soon that means 75% of your stuff is starting to get old. That's where death piles come from. And if you're not taking out, if you're just taking the money and spending it because, wow, I got $1,000, I have $1,000. No, you have $500, and the other $500 better go back into merch and be productive for you, because otherwise, eventually, what happens is you've got $1,000 worth of stale merchandise. It's not selling, and you have no cash.
And you have $1,000 worth of bills you got to pay at home. So.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I think reinvesting is really, really important. I paid everything off but my car, my student loans, and my house. So I paid off a lot of stuff last year, looking towards going to full-time this year. I was not fully prepared. I'm not going to lie. Like, I financially, like right now, I'm not where I would like to be with it. But I know I've been averaging over 10,000 a month in sales for almost 2 years now. We're at 12,000 this month. So for me, that's plenty, especially with having paid off all the other debt. And I buy really, really low. So, and I do have some money put up. And I know a lot of people that are full-time resellers that I've met were thrown into it. And I think, you know, by losing a job or a spouse losing a job, and I think at that point it's sink or swim. And I think full-time, like Cary said, a lot of it's going to be your drive and determination and motivation. Like, if you don't have it, it's going to be really hard to make it if you're not focused and know, like, I need to do this, I need to list, I need to pack, I need to photograph, and do everything that you need to do, rather than sit and watch Netflix all day. You know, you've got to make sure you get stuff done. The nice thing is of freedom. So you can take a day off when you want. But for me, I make sure that I've done enough work to feel like I covered the day, you know, that I'm going to be off. But definitely. And Julian, when Julian stopped, he did have, like, he had paid off most of his debt, and he had about a year, I think, like Mike said, he had about a year's worth of like bills in the bank, but he started with like no eBay sales. Like, he had his bill money and then just went, okay. But if you're stressed and miserable and waking up anxious and don't want to go to work, then sometimes you got to jump. And that's kind of, you know, what I did a little before I was ready. But if you're miserable, but if you have the motivation and drive, that's the ticket to that. You know, you have to have that in order for it to work.
Motivation is key. Yes. Yeah. Motivation. And one more thing real quick. You're going to work 60 hours.
Yep. Okay. You're going to work more probably.
Or more.
Yeah, or more. So you see our videos, you see a bunch of stuff, and I tell people, hey, this is not how it is. There's a lot behind here that nobody sees. And that's the thing about motivation. If you don't like to put the hours in, you will fail. You will start to hate it.
I think that's the big thing with, like, if you're really a reseller. If you're a reseller, it's not like work. So you could do like 60, 70 hours and you're having fun and loving what you're doing. Yeah. Like, it's not like work to me. Like,
exactly. That's what I mean. It's a 60 hours, but it's like there's like maybe 20 of that's a lot of fun or whatever, you know. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. It's not like, you know, it maybe with listing a little bit, but not like, I'm fine with packing. I'm okay with packing.
I hate shipping, packing. I love listing.
Yeah, we're not digging ditches.
And I'm the opposite. All right. Question number 2. Is it best to pay yourself a wage from sales or reinvest all of the money back in? And when do you think sellers should pay themselves? And he's asking, like, if we do like a percent or how we pay ourselves.
Okay, I'm a little different here now. I do not pay myself. I pay certain bills with my income. I hate to say it this way. I don't look at my bank account. I hate to tell you that. Once you get to a certain point, my bank account is my bank. I check it for fraud. That's about it. I pay my bills that I need. If I want to go on vacation, I go on vacation. I'm basically a debt-free person. I don't look at it, and that's kind of how I roll. So I don't really.
I would like to roll like that. Mike is my role model. I would like to roll like that.
I don't pay myself like, okay, this week I'm going to get $1,000. I just, whatever I need, I use a credit card, and I have a really good system with my wife. I have a credit card that I use for everything, for groceries, for everything. At the end of the week, Saturday, my wife pays that card off. That's it. So everything goes on that. She has the same card, and that's how it works. Every Saturday, I tell her, pay it. That's her only job for me. So she does that.
Pay the credit card.
Nice. I'm the same way. I don't have a set amount that I pay myself every week or every month. I pay my bills and I reinvest as much as humanly possible. It's the Amazon model, you know, just keep reinvesting all your profits, get bigger.
Yeah, that's what happens.
Yeah, I'm the same way. And I also, like Mike, I don't have any outstanding debt now, but it's taken years and years to get to that point. And I think that, you know, I think as you're doing this, if it is your job, well, a job does pay you. I've never taken it as salary. I've always looked at it as, okay, I've got to reinvest what I spent on the stuff back into more merchandise. So that's an expense. I've got to pay the expenses like shipping and gas and all those things. But I do every time, if it's a bunch of stuff I sell on eBay or I do an antique show or whatever, I do figure out what I actually made after those expenses. And then I take a chunk of that and I set it aside for the future. And then the rest of it, I feel like I'm free to spend. You know, and you have to set aside for income tax too. Remember, if you're self-employed. So you got to, you know, I have all these little pots of money that I keep all of those things for future bills in. I've got to pay the IRS this. I've got to set aside this much for that. And then whatever's left is mine and I can do whatever I want with it. But you've got to have some sort of a system because otherwise it's easy to take way too much out, like the first example I gave, or to not take enough out and then you're struggling. And there's no reason you should be struggling to do this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I pay myself 40% of eBay after shipping and fees, but I don't pay myself any of like my Poshmark, my Etsy, all my other platforms I leave in for rebuys, and 40% of eBay profit stays in for rebuys and 20% goes into savings for taxes. So that's what I've used is like 40, 40, 20. Because I normally buy at 10%. So if I'm putting back 40 in, I'm kind of almost able to like quadruple my investment that came out of eBay. And again, I don't touch all of that other little stuff that comes in so that my buying power continues to grow. Now, if I had an unexpected bill or like my electric was high or something, I would just pay myself a little bit more. And then if I have like an amazing auction that's thousands of dollars, I might be like, okay, I don't need 40% this week. And I might not pay myself as much. So it's not like a hard 40%, but that's kind of like the guide that I've figured out that works for me. And that way 20% goes up to taxes and I still have money left to rebuy. Duncan, I do know where you live. I'm not highlighting it, but I know where you live now. I know where you live. Duncan's saying as far as eBay algorithm tips, he's saying he reprices 5% of his older unsold listings daily. Do you do anything like that for the algorithm?
No, I don't. I might go in and adjust things off the listing page when a listing pops up. I might go down and adjust it. I will run sales, but I don't do too much of that. I don't do too much of that at all.
The two things I do is list daily and send out offers. I have best offer on everything, so I'm sending out offers when I have them. And then I'm listing new stuff every day. Some days, you know, some days I'm at 20, 30, 40 items. Some days it's 2 or 3. I don't really have, my goal is 20. I don't always hit it a day, but that's what I do. List daily and send out offers.
Yeah, and it seems like, again, you can structure the listing so that it's obvious they can make an offer. I don't think there's any... I will say, I think changing your prices is a good strategy if something sat for a long time. So I'm in agreement with the questioner, but I don't know that it matters so much in terms of, you know, how eBay is viewing it. I think it's more just in terms of your customer base. If it's sat in your store forever and ever at a certain price or make offer and no one's making an offer, then that tells you something about your price or the item. And I always am a big believer in have the best one, the cheapest one, or the only one.
Right. Yeah. And I don't reprice. I don't end and relist. I'm a like move forward in progress type of person. I don't do all that stuff. I feel like it's a waste of time. That's just my opinion. But I do, like Cary said, I send offers out every day and I have best offer on. So like all of my make an offer to buyer are sent every day, probably 2 or 3 times a day. I used to be OCD about it and I would send them like repeatedly from my phone, but now I'm doing like a tiered % off by how long it's been listed. So I only do it on the computer so I can see the listed date. Because if it's been here a year, I give them like 30% off. And I think that helps. My good friends, Roy and Kim, I am very, very happy that you are here. Sent a $10 super chat. Thank you both so much. I really appreciate it. Here's your dolphin. I have another one coming up too. Super chat. If you guys have not checked them out, Roy and Kim are amazing. I met them in person in Cincinnati last year. RK Treasure Center. They're like traveling around in their van and like living the dream. So definitely check them out.
It's a good channel for sure.
And then Camille Creative Flips in a $5 super sticker. So let me give you your dolphin. Thank you so much. Super chat.
Oh, and real quick, I wanted to interrupt just because I noticed that you have 2 new members, Erica Harris and PBJ Mom.
Oh, I see that. I see them. So let me give PBJ Mom and Erica. We're going to give a 3rd dolphin, but this one's a different one. This one's a new member dolphin. Thank you both for joining the channel membership. Welcome to the flipping family. I love those, and I took some videos while we were at SeaWorld, and I might like try and do some new ones, see if I can get creative with the editing. But Emily Conway was the voice for those. I don't know if I can do the dolphin voice. I might have to keep her voice. Miss Patty, does anybody use List Perfectly except for me first?
I do not. So yeah. I don't.
So okay, so I'm gonna field this one. How do you bulk edit after your eBay listings are transferred onto List Perfectly? I believe that you edit them on eBay and then you can tell List Perfectly to refresh your catalog. I believe. I'm not 110% because I'm using List Perfectly to cross post. So once it's in my catalog, I'm not super worried, like if prices change and things like that. I'm just more using it to end the listings once they've sold. So I'm not worried about if I have price updates or changes once it's in the catalog. Patty also wants to know, George, if you're a Freemason.
No, my grandfather and my uncle were, but I did not follow up in it. But if they've seen my channel, I talk about them a lot because there's so much cool old Freemasonry stuff. So
yeah, my grandfather was a Freemason as well, which is cool.
I guess that means you're eligible.
Really? I could be a Freemason.
Well, I think you'd have to be Order of Eastern Star. They're still pretty gender specific there.
They won't. Margaret says, how do you do a price markdown on eBay so buyers can see it what has been reduced? I think that's just a sale, Margaret.
Yeah, that's a sale. Yeah, just a sale. It'll scratch it through with a red line, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Pame has a good question. I'll tell you guys, we talked about this quite a bit on my members live last night. So she wants to know, do you use the eBay coupon on your listings? And do you think the coupon's better than running a sale, or do you do both?
I only do running the sale. I have not even explored the coupon, to be honest with you. I just run a sale and just do different categories, 10%, 15, 20, whatever, but have no idea on the coupon.
I honestly don't do coupon and I haven't run a sale in maybe a year plus. I don't do sales that often either. It's all about best offers with me and sending them out consistently. The sales have been really successful in the past for me though, when I did them.
Yeah, and I haven't done either of those myself, but I do think that there's a place for it. I mean, I like the idea of discounting a category if you have a slow category, or if, in my case, I get a lot of things through consignment and I'll end up with, all of a sudden, I have a whole bunch of one thing. I mean, I've been selling a camera collection for 2 years straight now, And at a certain point, it's like, okay, I'd really like to move these along. They could be 20% off. So I probably ought to look into that.
Yeah, and my opinion on it is that I think the sale works better than the coupon, because I've actually tried to buy things from people who do the coupon and it wouldn't work and I couldn't figure it out and I got frustrated with it. So that was just my experience on the buyer's end. So I feel like a coupon makes a little bit extra work for your buyer, like if they have to remember the code or put a code in. And I think that the sale works better. That's just my opinion, because I had issues with using it on a, you know, on the opposite side of it. Shabby Vintage Bell, total newbie. How do you get rid of spammers making you offers? eBay caught a couple of them and I've had 3 since. I've only been listing for a week and don't know what I'm doing wrong.
Oh, that's a tough one. What's weird is I was an eBay user for many years, up to 2000, and then I started to sell more. I never really ran into scammers. Basically, you're going to kind of know it when you see it, and there's not much you can do about it. You got to really just kind of have your radar up. My son just got one on an Xbox that he had, because my son is doing reselling, and he came to me and said, "Dad, what do we do?" I said, "Well, just wait. This guy's a scammer." I said, "He's going to, you know, we're just going to have to deal with him, punch him out, and then we block him. We block him, and if it's bad, you can send a note to eBay, but there's not a whole lot I think you can do. They're going to show up every so often. They're like a whack-a-mole.
Anytime they're asking you to do anything that's against eBay rules, like message them outside of eBay or make a deal outside of eBay, the best thing you can do is ignore them and sell stuff. Yes. Sell stuff to regular buyers. Once you hit, you know, I don't know what the exact number is, but once you have a certain amount of feedback, they're going to leave you alone. I have not had any scammer emails in maybe 10 years. I don't even know if I had them when I started, to be honest. I think it's more of a newer thing. But once you're a proven seller, they're not going to mess with you. They're preying on people that are new. Just ignore them. You don't have to respond to the email. Or you could just say, no, I can't do that. Leave it at that.
That's probably the biggest one, I think, Cary, right? Is kind of, hey, let's do this transaction off eBay.
That's a big one. I get that all the time from people sending me, asking about it.
Yeah, the call me, text me.
Call, text, none of that. You only message on eBay, period, and tell them that over and over again. And if they ask more than once, block them. Simple. I wouldn't worry about it.
Yeah, that seems like sound advice. I haven't ever had that issue, and I think it's because like Mike, I was on eBay as a buyer before I was a seller, so I already had a bunch of feedback when I started selling.
That's it.
Yeah, I think from what I've gained knowledge of talking to people, it stops around 15 feedback. Like right, they go for people under 15. So that's why I always recommend everybody go buy some pens and like a notepad and like, you know, $5 stuff to build your feedback up on the buyer end. And that way those scammers will go away. But I just ignore them. I wouldn't even respond to them and give them like a response. I would just ignore them. And beware, another thing they do is they will offer you at or more than your asking price. That's a red flag, guys.
Yep,
if they're sending an offer of what you're asking or more,
yeah,
if
it's too good to be true.
It
is.
Yes.
Yeah, the Nigerian scam, you know, where I'm going to send you a cashier's check above it for your you know, your effort. I'm going to give you an extra 200.
Yeah, nobody's giving out free money. Nobody.
Yeah. Yes. Cheap Chickadee, I'm glad you put this in the chat. She said she's looking forward to meeting me in Myrtle Beach in a few weeks. So Julian and I have firmed up the location and the time. So we are going to do our meet and greet at Surfside Salvation Army in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina on March 21st. So 2.5 weeks from now at 10 a.m. And I will post, but just in case you're in the area, and Julian told me he met a few people that are looking forward to meeting me. So we know we will at least have a few people coming to hang out. We're just doing it in the parking lot. That's a really big parking lot. That's why we did it. We figured we can hang out, chit chat with everybody. And then the Salvation Army is there. So we can go thrifting if we want and do whatever. So March 21st at Surfside Salvation Army at 10 a.m. And I'll make a post of that. We just actually firmed that up this morning, so I haven't had a chance. Rob Robin, Robin's question kind of goes along with what we just talked about with scammers. She's saying a buyer contacted her and wants to purchase outside of eBay. Absolutely not.
Yep.
Stay away from that. Anything outside of eBay, don't touch it with the stick.
Yeah, it's 1000% a scam.
Yep.
Yes. Yeah. O'Shan says, where would you sell used vintage perfume since eBay is not allowing it anymore?
I don't sell that, so that's a tough one. I don't sell that, so I have no clue where to go with that. Sorry about that, guys.
Mercari is probably where I'd go with it.
Yeah.
Mercari, possibly Poshmark, whatnot.
When in doubt, go to Macari. That's the way I look at it.
Exactly. Every time I doubt, can I put this on eBay? Is this cool? And I'm worried about it, I just put it on Mercari. I don't care.
You can blow my Macari account up. You can't blow my eBay account
Amen.
up.
I don't care about that.
I actually quit selling it online, and I only sell it in real world because people want to smell it. And if it doesn't smell the way they remember, then they want to send it back, even if there wasn't anything wrong with it. And no, I just want them to do it in person. It's too complicated. It's liquid. It's not fun to ship.
Yeah. It's a good point.
Yeah, I haven't been looking a ton. I will get like empty bottles. I can tell you like empty Chanel No. 5 bottles will still sell for 20 to 30 bucks, totally empty. So there are some that are worth it empty. And then other than that, sealed. I haven't been, and I used to pick it up a lot, but recently I have not been. Cheap Chickadee. This is hard and it's complicated. And I know Kevin, Commonwealth Picker, has a video on where it is. Does anybody know how to tell her simply how to get to that coupon?
No, because I still have problems.
I just Google.
I think I Google.
I find it
Yeah.
every time.
I do it too. Every time I Google it. I have not been smart enough to bookmark some kind of page, but I Google it, and then I click the link, and there it is.
Yeah, eBay's in the Stone Ages with a lot of things like that. Like it doesn't make sense.
Ridiculous.
Yeah, I have issues too finding it. So Miss Christie says, do you have a strategy to increase sales?
Ooh, strategy. Basically, just finding and listing. I mean, you just got to keep going. You got to grind. I mean, that's what I am. I am grinding all the time. It's out there. You just have to find it, let it kind of come to you. Once you get good at it, or once you really feel comfortable at it, things are going to happen. I tell my son all the time, he said, I can come home with nothing for 2 days. Okay. Then I'll come home with something with 10 items. Consistent listing and consistently going out. You can't just sit at home. Okay. You got 2 feet, you got to move. The 2 feet got to move. You got to have a really good process of how you're doing your sourcing. And once you do that and you just build up, it will happen. It's happened to me so organically. I can't explain it. It just started to build. It just builds.
It's true. eBay's not passive income. It just isn't. You have to be, putting stuff in all the time. I mean, I have a physical store. I've had them for years. You got to keep moving stuff around. You have to redo everything. You got to bring fresh stuff in. And with eBay, it's simple. People ask me this a lot, and you always ask back, like, how many listings are you doing a day? A lot of times it's none. Maybe it's one. If the answer is 1, do 5 a day. If the answer is 5, do 10 a day. Post more. Every time I get in a rut, if I post more, I get out of it. Every time. I don't know what the algorithm is exactly, but the only thing I can tell you is post more. And if you don't have the merchandise to do that, then you need to go out and find it. Like Mike was saying, you got to get some more stuff, find some deals, get a lot of something you can pull from for a while.
Yeah.
And the other thing, and I think this dovetails into it too, in terms of your sourcing. A great example in our vintage reseller business is Jocelyn with Crazy Lamp Lady, and Kat actually is a very good example too. They have really been ramping up their game. They're buying more expensive items. They're stepping up. And one way to increase sales is to sell fewer things at higher dollar. And the way you do that is you learn about if you like a category, go into completed sales, sort it high to low, and look at what's selling for the highest price in that category, and then start looking for that. It is so amazing to me over the years, and it sounds just so strange. I'll become aware of something, like I do an antique appraisal. So someone will bring something to an appraisal fair that it's sort of like something I've seen, and I find out a little bit more about it. And then the next week I see one out there in the wild and I buy it. And it's something maybe I never considered before. So you can use eBay as a study resource too. It doesn't have to just be about listing.
That's 100%.
eBay is like one of the best universities if you want to use it. If you're interested in anything, a piece of glass, sports cards, just go look up. Don't look up high, you can look up high to low, but also just look out what sold recently and just go through. Oh, I'm seeing this name a lot. I'm seeing this color of glass or this kind of maker for antiques or whatever it is. Study it. If you put that extra effort in, like you're saying, George, you're going to start seeing that stuff or similar stuff that you want to look up and see what it's worth.
Yeah. And the more you learn, the more you'll see, guys, you know, and that's from like watching all of our videos, you know, to see like what we're selling, what we're finding, then you're going to have a better eye. As far as me for strategy, I'm like Cary said, I'm like push, push, push. If sales are down, I'm working twice as hard. I'm going to list more and something will sell. And George had a good point too, that I think has really like kept my sales up. I know a lot of you have had slow sales. I have heard that like repetitively over the last week or two. And like people are going towards like the economy and gas. My thing is, especially with the higher dollar stuff, the people that buy my high end stuff don't care how much gas costs, guys. They don't care. They're still going to buy a $600 painting because that's what they do. They don't care how much gas is.
So you've got to kind of think, you know, sometimes we lose track because we're all, you know, middle class, right? But we have to remember there's like maybe 10%. I'm in Silicon Valley. There's 10% of the population that doesn't give a rip. They got all the money in the world. And you hopefully will target some of them with some of these higher price. You'll be surprised. It really does happen that way. Yeah. I target that all the time. You know? Yeah.
And those are the people you want to target. Or think of stuff that people have to have, you know, where you're doing that. But I would rather target high end. Like I just sold a $200 clipper ship painting, unknown artist. And it went to California. It went to California. They paid over $100 in shipping. And they're not telling me that gas is $7 a gallon. They just want the painting because they love it, you know?
And now you're going to be looking for Spanish galleons. You're going to be looking for all different types of ships. You're going to look up everything now. You just got yourself a new niche.
I sold one, but it was local. I will never again. Never again.
Never again.
Hey, a real quick story. I just want to tell you this. I had an antique mid-century modern tea cart that I sold basically locally. This guy wanted me to take it to UPS for shipping. I took it to UPS for him. He said, I'll take care of everything. 2 weeks later, when I went back to UPS, because I go every day, I said, hey, whatever happened to that tea cart? The guy paid $250 for the tea cart. And I said, how much did he pay for shipping? He said, Mike, are you ready to sit down? $650 to ship a tea cart.
Yep.
Money meant, the guy said that he said, money doesn't matter. Just make sure it gets to me.
And those are the people you want, guys. Those are the people you want that like they're going to have it no matter what. And that's where like the one-off and the vintage and the antique and like Cary with like the sports cards. I'm sure some of those high dollar sports card collectors, same thing. Money's not an object to them.
How about that VHS tape I sold? $4,500 VHS tape.
That's so crazy.
That was you.
Yeah.
We all heard about that.
Yeah. $4,500. And I never got feedback from him. Nothing. I can tell you what's going on there. He wants to remain anonymous. He's not going to sit there and tell you anything. That's what he is. He's a collector. Yeah. $4,500.
Yeah. A lot of these people will spend that kind of money on VHS or sports cards as well, because not only are they collectors, but they're investors too.
Right.
They send that into IGS or they don't send it in to be graded. And they say, I'm going to sit on this 10, 15, 20 more years. And instead of having my money sit in the bank, I got a cool piece of art, you know, a sealed VHS I can look at once every quarter or something.
Until your son opens it up and plays
Exactly. You got to have that in a safe or something.
Yeah.
Check this out, Dad. Indiana Jones, VHS style.
What?
Still works.
Yeah. So I would say the main thing's the work you put in, Christy, to like sum that up. Joanne is watching over on Facebook. So all of you watching us over on Facebook, thank you for watching. She wants to know, is it okay to tell people you're a reseller at thrift stores when you're buying items?
For me, they know me. So, I mean, it doesn't matter. They all know who I am pretty much. I don't think it matters because they have a set price. actually it can work to your advantage, because
100%.
they may come to you and say, hey, what do you think? You want it? It happens to me all the time, all the time. So use it to your advantage sometimes. I wouldn't be afraid of that.
I always tell people all the time. Yeah. I'll tell them I'm on TikTok, and then they'll see the video and get mad at me sometimes. Like, I'll tell them everything. I don't care. Yeah. And you're right. I think the very, very rare case where maybe you're at a garage sale and they find out you're a reseller and they up the price, that doesn't really happen. It's either going to be the price it was, or they're going to be like, oh, you're a reseller, I got more of this, or I want to sell a lot. Can you buy a lot? I'll give you a good deal. I mean, that happens more often than not. And I'll leave a garage sale at times, filling up a van. So let people know you're a reseller. It's something that I think is an advantage, honestly.
One more thing, business card. Business card. Yeah. Hand them out.
Yes, you will get referrals. The other thing is, I always tell the thrift stores I'm a reseller because I have a sales tax number, and I don't want to pay 7 to 10% over the price tag if I can get them to do it no sales tax, because I'm reselling the item. I'm not obligated to pay sales tax most of the time. It depends on your state. Some states, thrift store stuff doesn't get taxed. Some states, I think Maryland, you have to pay 5% no matter what. But most states, you will actually, if you go to the state and get a reseller tax number, and you have to do paperwork and all that, but if you're serious about this business, you're going to do it. You're going to save at least the sales tax every time you show it. So definitely identify yourself as a reseller in that case.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I agree. I tell everybody, and it's going to open way more doors than it's going to close. You might get somebody here or there that's going to have an attitude about it, and it happens, but overall, the opportunities that will present themselves to you because you are telling people what you do are going to be way greater than the negative impacts and I really have not ran into any issues with telling people. And like George said, like, you can get the referrals, they might be like, oh, my mom has a whole house full of this she's trying to get rid of. And then you end up with tons and tons of stuff. Or like Cary says, a whole van full of stuff, at the estate sale, because it's going to get donated. So they'd rather get some money for the family versus getting nothing on the last day at the end of the estate sale. So, yeah.
Networking with other resellers. Don't discount that either. Let them know, because they might not be in one category and you are, and they will alert you by phone. Hey, I got this. What do you want to do? So that is huge to me. Huge. I've got one guy that does furniture, but he finds me more stuff and says, hey, here you go. You want it? Yeah, I want it. We'll communicate during garage sale day. You're over here. Okay, I'm 5 minutes away. You want to hold it? I'll be there. All that kind of stuff. So network with other resellers. It's
so huge. Those of us that are on social media, we're kind of hyper networking, because I can't tell you how many deals I get just from people all over the country, or so many sales I get on Instagram, for example, that doesn't even have anything to do with eBay, just because I'm putting my stuff out there and just showing my daily life. So I think let people know, be proud of it. I think it's a great thing to do.
Yeah, I agree. And I absolutely love it. That's why I'm out here doing this. Randomly Beautiful Collectibles LLC. How do you approach a private pick at a hoarder house so as not to offend but still get good value?
I don't do a whole lot of these, but I just did one that was it was bad. It was really bad. And you just approach it with respect and just say, hey, I'm on here. They know, and I'll look around and see what I can find, and just be respectful. That kind of thing. But in your mind, you might be saying some things, but don't say, it's just, that's all I can say.
One of the biggest pieces of reseller advice when you're, not at a thrift store, but at a private pick or a flea market or garage sale, is never give the first price. Never give the first price. That way you don't offend people. They're going to a lot of times ask you,
it might take 5 minutes of silence.
It might take 5 minutes, but whoever, speaks first loses, right? So you want them to give the price. A lot of times it's going to be lower than you think. But then that way you don't offend. And honestly, with me, if it's super high, I just don't really make a deal typically, because I'm like, I'm going to be much lower than that. So I just think it's maybe I'll grab a couple things to not waste your time. But yeah, I think just don't ever give the first price. That's what
bundle.
Yeah, bundle. Always.
Yeah, sorry.
Always.
Bundle.
Every time.
Yep.
The other thing I found when I've picked a lot of hoarder houses is
There
I
you go.
figured George would be key
George is
here.
going to have it. George is going to have this. Yeah.
Well, you know, I think everything you're saying is true. And I do think the thing to do, the first thing to do is have a little bit of a conversation before you even start with a hoarder house, because you want to know, what is their goal? Is it, oh, this house is so hoarded and we just know there's something really great in here? Well, that means maybe you're not going to take giant bulk purchases out the first day. And you might have to share a little bit of information. Well, I sell these and, you know, they sell for about this and I can pay you this, because otherwise they may have this idea that everything is gold. On the other hand, if the first words out of their house is, OMG, I can't believe we have to deal with this huge mess, and I just wish we had a bulldozer and a dumpster. That tells you that, well, you know what, I'm going to just put I'm going to help you out. I'm going to put a big bunch of stuff together and offer you a fair price and just put it in my van and take it away right now.
You're solving a problem.
You're solving a problem. So I think the way you approach it really kind of starts with a conversation to see where their head is about everything. Sometimes in a hoarder situation, if the family hasn't really had time to go through things, you're going to start picking things out, and then they're going to go, oh, we really want to keep that. And you got to be prepared for that. And you might do a whole lot of work. If that happens a few times, fine. If it starts happening with every good piece, you might say, you know what, I'm going to give you my number or get your number, and I'm going to come back when you're ready, and you need to wait until you've actually gone through. Because then they're going to go, oh, crap, you're leaving, and I need you to take a bunch of this stuff, and their attitude may turn right around. I've had that happen too. Oh, no, don't go.
Yeah. And I, again, like Cary said, with my private picks, I am not going to throw out the first price. And I have come back higher if they were significantly low, because I didn't want to feel like I cheated them. And I've come back lower a couple of times as well. So I think letting them, so that way you kind of see what they value it at. But that's kind of knowing coming in that, like, I'm making this giant pile and we're going to make a price for all of it. But I think you need to be ready to walk away from that if, you know, what you have in your mind isn't what you can get it for. Like, don't pay more just because you already made it. And I will tell people, like, I buy at 10 to 20%, maybe 30, so that they know, like, especially if they've looked stuff up, like, if you're selling that for 100, I'm going to want to pay you 20 to 30 bucks. Like, that's what I pay because of fees and work put in. So I will tell them that up front, especially if they are the type that might be looking it up. But letting them come with the first price. And I think bundling is key. Like, you make a big pile and, you know, that's the way to get the best deals. Yep. Dave is sending me a super chat because he likes George's shirt.
Nice.
Are those birds of paradise, George?
Yeah, they sure are.
I like bird of paradise. All right, Dave, here's your dolphin, my friend. Thank you for being here. Super chat. Dave and I started our channels at about the same time. We were like neck and neck for a long time. We started, I feel like, very, very close to the same time.
Dave's awesome.
Yeah, I made Dave's banner on his YouTube channel. I made Dave's banner for him when I was like first starting to learn how to like edit and stuff. I did that for him. And it's still there. It's still there, which is awesome. So now every time I see it, I'm like, I did that. Profit picker, tax reporting question. How do you log and decide what you paid for an item at a garage sale with no official way of monitoring what something really cost?
Basically, I think people to me, okay, now I had a big retail store, so that's a different ball game than this, but basically it's what you paid for something versus what you sold it for. It's pretty straightforward. Garage sales are a little bit trickier. I do keep a ledger, basically a Excel file, and I will try and put some things in there. I don't hit every single one of them. Sometimes I miss, but I will attempt to put the bigger ones in and so forth and so on and track it that way. But at the bottom line is, it's kind of what you spent and what you made, and it's pretty straightforward. There's a few things in between, but that's how I do it. On a garage sale, also, I usually go the night before to an ATM and pull a receipt out just so that I have that receipt. I keep it to show that, hey, every Friday, this is what I do. If somebody, the odds of you getting audited here are slim and none. I hate to tell, I can tell you, I owned a retail furniture store for 30 years, not one audit, because I was straight up. That's what you got to do. Just be straight up. And that's how I do it. I just track it kind of that way. There's no real easy way with it for me.
Yeah, it's just for me, it's probably super simple. It's just cash in, cash out. So whatever I'm taking out for, I spent $300 garage selling today. I don't do an individual list of every single item. I don't think it's necessary. You can do it. I think it's probably best practice, but it's not necessarily something you have to do.
Well, and I mean, I'm a little confused by the question because no official way of monitoring what something really costs.
I'm thinking they might mean bundles, George, like where you bundle and pay one big price. That's my thought on that.
When I do a bundle, I'm a little different than a lot of people because I keep discrete inventory on every item. And so, and it's a pain. It's more lengthy in some ways, but if I get, if there's 50 items and a few of them are worth $30 or $40, let's say there's 50 items, I paid $100 and a few are worth $20 and $30 and $40. Well, maybe I say I paid, $10 each for those items. And then the rest, I divide 70 into however many items there are. And that's the price per item. And it's just as easy as that. And the reason I keep discrete inventory is partly because of the nature of what I sell, because I'm not doing bulk sales of similar items over and over because I'm doing antique and vintage. So the likelihood, I mean, sometimes we find box lots where there's a bunch of the same thing, but it's the exception rather than the rule, as opposed to I bought 50 CDs and they're essentially all the same thing. So because of that, I keep individual things. And I did get audited once and I came through with flying colors because when they said, well, how do you determine your cost of inventory? I dumped all these receipts out in front of them and said, how I got the number. And they took one look at it and were like, okay, we believe your number. They weren't going to sit there and add all that again.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. I've often said that. If they do, you say, here, it's the IRS.
Have fun.
You have the receipt. You say, go to it. Have fun. I'm going to tell you, I'm 100% tight. Go ahead. I mean, that's why you got to do it straight up.
Yeah.
No,
and I do money in, money out too. I want to start keeping a receipt book for garage sales just to write it. Just to have a little bit more, but I don't do garage sales a lot. I do online estate auctions. So I have itemized. They might be lots though, and in that case, if I buy a lot of items, I just do a average cost and just divide it by and do it equally. And then some items would be a loss, because like George said, I'm going to have those few higher dollar items that are worth a lot more and then the lower. But I just kind of cost average. And then I know when I'm in the profit. So if I paid $100 for the lot and I sold two $50 items, I know that everything else in that lot from there on out is all profit. But as far as the books, it's this how much I made, this how much I spent, and a bottom line. Stephanie wants to know what app we use to remove the background.
Okay, I don't remove the background. I shoot. Look, this came up in one of my YouTube videos. Somebody was asking about that, and I said, look, I have been shooting on my granite countertop since I started, and my sales have zoomed. Okay, now they might force me eventually to do a white background. Okay, but I have not found any reason for me to wipe out the background yet. For me, that's just one more thing I got to do. And I'm trying to do as little as possible. So that's worked for me. And I had a couple of friends that said, hey, Mike, sometimes on the granite, it just looks like maybe it's a little more expensive. I mean, I'm not trying to, it's kind of a weird thing, but that's all so I do not use anything like that.
Yeah. You don't need to. That's the number one rule. You really don't. You just want a clear picture. Full disclosure, I'm sponsored by Photo Room on my personal channel. My girlfriend is. Our podcast is. I use Photo Room and I would use it. I do enjoy it. It's actually really a good app. That's what I would suggest. But I would say you don't need to. You can do it 100 different ways. You can do it on a granite countertop. You can hang clothing up against a wood wall. You can really do it any way. Just make sure that your picture is clear and that you're pointing out flaws if there's flaws on the item.
Yeah, that's it.
Exactly. Yeah, Mike's doing it in 3 square feet, and sometimes I am too, depending where I'm traveling. I mean, I've taken pictures in motel rooms against the blankest wall I could find because I was in a hurry and needed to get a listing up for. I do a member bonus video every month, and it's 20 items where I list and they go live on eBay as I'm talking about them in the video for my members. And so, you know, sometimes I'm on a deadline and I just have to make it work wherever I am. I did try, well, I mean, Xenomorph, who's in the chat and help me try actually taking the background out of a bunch of listings. I have to say, some of the stuff looked really cool.
Yes.
And it looked better without the background. It did not seem to make any difference in sales. So we quit doing that because, just like Mike said, it's just more work.
Yeah.
I'm going to go the opposite of that. I'm going to go the opposite of it. I am OCD about removing the background. And I use Photo Room, which Cary said. I'm waiting on my affiliate link. I have sent them stuff for that. And the reason for that is because I was a photographer before I was a nurse. So like clear background where like the item is highlighted is important to me. Now, if it's the granite where it like stands out and you can see it. So like Cary said too, the most important thing is that it's clear, it's in focus, and you can see the item, you know, good lighting.
Exactly.
But if you have it on a busy background where it blends in and people can't, you know, like that's what drives me a little bit crazy. But I will tell you, our members saw an increase in sales with using Photo Room and removing the background, like a pretty like fast increase. I just think like, and for me, not for all people, and some people don't like it because they think it looks fake. I've heard that quite a few times. To me, it doesn't look fake. It looks professional. And if I'm looking at 2 shirts, one that's like thrown on somebody's dirty floor and one that has a white background, I'm going to pick the one with the white background. Even though the one with the white background could have been took on somebody's dirty floor and they just erased the background. I don't see it.
There's also, like, for me particularly, like there's a social media aspect to it, because I sold a really cool Michael Jordan Space Jam 1993 shirt that I had, and I used the Photo Room to remove the background and everything. But when I sold it, I actually put it on an animated background with smoke in the back, and that's all stuff I could do on Photo Room. It just made it, I thought it looked cool. I don't know if it really makes a difference. You don't have to do that, but there's some cool things you can do with it. I enjoy it, but yeah, just have clear,
I went through a phase of like colors, and I would do like ombre fades that matched my item. And
you can do a lot of things.
Photo Room has the batch, guys. If you get Photo Room Pro, you can do 50 photos at once, and it takes 2 minutes to edit 50 photos. Wow. It's like a game changer. It is really a game changer.
Yeah, batch is key.
I pay it for,
Batch is key, 100%.
Yes. Yeah. It saves so much, like literally 50 pictures done in 2 minutes. And it's like, I pay for Photo Room for all of the people that list for me. I buy it for their phones for a year because I think it is just like, when you can edit 50 pictures in 2 minutes, you know, it's a big thing. I don't know. I'm gonna throw this at George, but I don't know that we can really answer because there's so many different types of antiques. I don't know, George, if you could come up with an answer for this. She's asking the average buying cost, and I don't know if she means like percent-wise maybe. And I do think your percent-wise is more with antiques, you know, compared to what you would with other stuff. But she's asking, what's the average buying cost you use for antiques?
It is more, and I think that's the way I would interpret the question too. You know, my attitude, and I look at other people doing it as well, I would like to pay, of course, I'd like to pay as little as possible, and sometimes it happens. But if I'm, see, a lot of times I get called in because people said, I have stuff and I want someone to sell it, but I don't know. And they're looking at me to give them information and tell them values. And so I'm kind of on the hook where I can't let them make the first because they don't have any reference. So I have to make the first mention of price. And when I do that, I tell them straight out, I said, you know, because of holding costs, because, you know, this stuff is cool, but it may sell tomorrow. It may sell in 6 months. I have to take into account that I might be hanging on to it for a while. There's a lot of other business expenses. And so I will typically pay, If it's a relatively common item, I don't want to pay more than maybe 30%, a third maybe of what I think it'll sell for. If it's something really good, I'll pay half. And if it's something really exceptional that I know I have a customer for, I may pay more than half. There are certain categories like coins, for example. It's just not really ethical to offer half, because a coin dealer will typically pay 80% of the scrap value for the silver. So, you know, it does depend on the category, but typically, you know, I want to get in between a third and half. And it is more on antiques and vintage because more people are aware of it and more people are inclined to look it up thinking maybe it's something special. So they may have more knowledge going in. It's not like, oh, I'm getting rid of all of my, oh yeah, my son has this Xbox and this stuff and he went off to college and I'll take 10 cents on the dollar because I just want rid of it. You know, they usually have a little bit of a sense.
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead, Kat.
No, go ahead. No, you're good.
Yeah, people just need to kind of be educated on arbitrage because there is so much to it. If you want the maximum dollar for your item, your antiques or whatever, you got to sell it yourself. You got to cut out all the middlemen. And once you have, you know, layers of people who are involved, like you're selling it to somebody who's going to resell it, you're losing money and you have to accept that. And, you know, you're going to be the one that's not going to make the most amount of money because you're selling it quicker to somebody who's going to take the risk.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. It's in appraisal, they call it, there's different values depending, you know, everyone says, so what's the appraisal value on this? And there isn't just one appraisal value. There's like insurance value and then fair market value and then retail value. And then you get into orderly liquidation. Well, I have plenty of time and I can take my time and sell it, but I got
that one. Yeah.
And then there's forced liquidation, which is it's the last day of the estate sale and I've got to get this house empty. Yes. And that's a completely different number than those other numbers. So
interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. And I like the last day. I'm not a get there early on the first day. I'm like, I'm going to come the last hour of the last day and see what other people missed.
I'm showing up when you're loading stuff up for the thrift store. I'm there when you're putting stuff in the van and I'm grabbing it before.
Here's the thing too, is a lot of these estate sales, especially here, are extremely high on day one, right? Then they get to a 50%. And what happens is that really good item just sits because the people who saw that originally, they go, I don't want that. Then 50. I just went to one this last weekend and I picked up a beautiful Pioneer 8-track recorder that was marked 150, 75% off. So yes, it's the last day sometimes when you'll find some really good gems.
I go one step further. I typically I don't go to estate sales much. I go to the guy who buys out the estate sales after he's bought out the estate at the end. And I'm getting that $175 player for $10 because he doesn't want to deal with it. So, I mean, and of course I'm missing a lot of great stuff because I don't go to and pay the higher prices, but
yeah,
but that's okay. There's room in every part of the market. I mean, the person who pays a lot because they really want it for themselves or because, oh, I have a customer or, oh, I'm an interior designer and I get to mark everything that I buy for my client up 15% just automatically, you know.
Yeah,
people have different reasons to buy.
Very true.
Yeah, for sure.
But I think as resellers, I think that's the way I looked at it. I was like, I never really went to these because every time I'd go, it would be the first day. And I'd go, holy smokes, you know, this stuff's crazy. But then I started to say, let's just start going towards the end and see if we can pick up some things that have been left behind, you know, and that's been working out much better.
I think there's people who go like all 3 days too.
Yes, all 3 days.
Yeah, and do a little of all of it.
Yes, that's very good.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You can, if you're close, like I'm driving, like when I went to George's, I went like at the last of the second day. If I didn't have to work, I would have preferred to go on the last day because that really is for me, again, that's when I would rather garage sales too, guys. They don't want to put that stuff back in their house. Like come the last day, the last hour, you're going to get a better deal for sure. Ricochet vintage finds for me. Do you keep your Etsy listings short like you do on eBay or do you go in more depth? My Etsy listings are exactly like my eBay listings, and I'm not doing horrible on Etsy. I've done okay, but I would probably do a lot better if I took the time. I feel like Etsy people appreciate the lengthier description. I don't have the time, and my mom cross posts, and I wouldn't ask her to go type it in. I tried to ask her to type in some tags for me, but I don't think she's been doing it. And I don't know what she would put in. So for me to keep it simple, I've just kept them the same. I've been getting Etsy questions, and I really I'm just winging Etsy, guys. I don't know Etsy. I'm not going to lie and say I do. I just picked Etsy up as another platform when I dropped Cary, because I don't like to only have 2 platforms. And I've sold, I'm doing okay. I'm not doing horrible, but I probably could be doing a lot better than I am if I decided I wanted to get all wordy. But I'm not a wordy kind of person at all. Do you do Etsy, George?
I have debated it, and the reason I haven't is because my impression of Etsy is that you do get more money for certain things, and that it's about telling a story, and telling a story takes more thought and more time. My eBay listings are actually pretty simple, considering that I'm dealing in vintage stuff. I kind of stick to the facts. A lot of times what's in my title is the description, unless there's some reason to amplify it. I mean, it's just, so Etsy, to me, I'm like you. I don't have a lot of experience with it. My perception is you can make more money, but you will pay for it in time.
Yeah. And I mean, like I said, I think I could do better, but I'm doing very well on eBay. That is definitely my #1 platform. Now, I will tell you guys, if eBay started really sucking, I might go into Etsy and start typing some flowy words on some higher priced items, if I needed to. Margaret wants to know, how many listings would you recommend a day for a new seller?
As many as you can. As many as you can. Basically, as many as you can. There are I am so much different because I really stick to my don't buy just to buy. I'm just a little bit different, but I have what I call my media backup, which is my a lot of CDs, mini LPs, and stuff like that. I will use that if I don't have enough I will fill in, but I'm constantly listing all the time, as much as you can. Like I think tonight I have maybe 9 or 10 that have to go up. Maybe tomorrow I have 3 or 4. So it's a consistent pattern, and that's the key. It really is. List consistently. Doesn't matter how many, as many as you can. If you've got 20 and you can put up 20 in one day, do it.
Yeah. It's just, what's your goals too? How much, I mean, are you full-time? Are you part-time? What's your goals? You got to think relatively, if you're going to sell 1 to 2% a day, if you're doing pretty good. So that means you got to be at about 100 to guarantee a sale every day. And if you want to be selling every day, so you got to have hundreds and hundreds of items listed, and you got to be putting new stuff in every day. If you have a really good sale day, you got to make up for that. So it just depends, but list every day is the main thing. If it's only 1, whatever, but just get in that algorithm.
I would agree. I think it all depends on your personal situation, but do something. And also, at the same time, if you're new, at first it's really exciting and wow, I'm doing this. I finally got it going and I got my first listing. So now I'm getting really good at it. And, it's easy to get OCD. And then you suddenly are like, oh, I've done this for 7 days in a row. Now I'm kind of burned out. So, find a level you think you can be satisfied with that doesn't sap everything from the rest of your life too.
Yeah. And I like batch photographing. I photograph in here, and then I'll go sit on the couch and watch TV. So I'm like, I can watch my TV, do my listings. I don't stay in here to do my listings. And I would say, if your goal is to grow your store, like Cary said, if you have a good day, I would recommend listing how many ever sold plus a certain amount, whether it's 5 or 10. So if 3 sell, you list 8. If 5 sell, you list 10. Like, if you want to build your store, you have to list more than you're selling, or your store is never going to grow. So I would say that would be, if your goal is to grow your store, set yourself a goal above what you sell. So if you have a really good day and sell 10, you need to list 15 or 20 if you want your store to grow.
I'd also say, if you're feeling it, if you're feeling like listing and you're in a groove, keep listing.
Just go.
Keep listing. You want to post every day, but if you're in a groove and you have the stuff and you have the photos and you're ready to go, do a couple extra.
Yeah, and I've had days where I'll do like 40 or 50 just because I'm like doing the same kind of thing. I'm on a roll and I'm just going to go with it. I will just photograph everything that I have like that and just go with it. Christopher, I'm glad to see you in here, my friend. I hope you're doing well. What would you use as a new or old reseller to track cost and profit? Like, do you guys use anything to track your costs and your profits?
Just basically a spreadsheet for me. It's pretty straightforward. What's in, what's out. You're talking about individual items. Are we talking about that too? Or no, it says here, what would you use new, old reseller to track cost and profit? That's basically all I do.
I think I would think just overall.
Yeah, just overall, it's just a spreadsheet. You can create. Hey, there's software out there you can buy from some people and use all that. Again, I think personally, I think people think of it and overcomplicate it, and that's my opinion. They overcomplicate.
Yeah, that happens a lot. It really does.
Yeah, you know, it's like, look, don't create any more work than you have to, right? I mean, keep it as simple as possible. You know, most people are not making selling $300,000 worth of stuff. You know, maybe you're selling 20,000 a year. That's very manageable, very easy. And I'm not trying to belittle it, but the IRS isn't looking at 20,000. I mean, they're not, you know, they're looking, but they're not going, hey, this guy's ripping us off. You know, I mean, just, you know, or having a problem. So, you know, I think keep it simple, simple profit and loss, little spreadsheets, that kind of thing.
Exactly. Keep it simple, profit and loss. That's what I would do. That's what I do still. Yeah, and then, you know, keep listing. Wouldn't it be, if you're making so much money that that's something you're going to have to think about more and more, you maybe need a CPA and everything, which I have a CPA. Then, you know, create a problem for yourself because you're doing so well. But until you get to that point, you can really handle most anything very simply.
I like that, Cary. You got to, in reselling, create problems.
Exactly.
Yes. It's so bright. You will solve them. Trust me. If somebody said, what do you want to do? I said, I want to create issues that I have to get through, you know, good issues.
I'm selling so much. How do I get more? You know, I'm selling so much. How do I get more? That's a good problem.
Yeah. How do I solve this problem? How do I make myself more efficient? All of that. That's what I'm all day long. It's like a Tetris puzzle. I'm trying to put these pieces together to make my whole day as efficient as possible and, you know, solving problems.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Make it simple. Keep it easy. It's, I mean, for me, I honestly, I use a very basic computer sheet that can immediately take the information and turn it into tags if I'm selling in the real world. And if not, I still keep the tag with the item. And when the item sells, the tag goes in a drawer. At the end of the month, I do all the bookkeeping at once so that I'm not constantly, every time something sells, having to add stuff in. I have to be honest, the program I use, I actually made myself out of like a Word program, and it's not even a spreadsheet. And I know that seems crazy, but
just again, with like the formulas, George, and like columns. Is that what you did?
Right. And the reason I did that is because, you know, again, for me, each item is discrete, so it's not like it's a bunch of the same stuff, and it just turned out to be just as easy to keep track of it that way. Plus, you know, honestly, it's a little different when I'm selling in the real world. I might be out in the, you know, sometimes I'm at a flea market in a place where there's no electricity and there's no, you know, the computer battery is dead and there's no going and doing that. And I don't want to have to do book work later. So I just make it simple.
Yeah. And I have a CPA. Mine's money in, money out. He will pull like my purchases from auctions and thrift stores and then take into account all my sales. And he sends me monthly reports. So mine is very simple. I pay someone to do it for me. I know as far as the individual items, I have a pretty good memory as far as remembering, okay, I paid this much, I'm selling it for this, and like what my profit is. But overall, my accountant does it. Chris Marker sent $10 super chat. Hey, Kat, George, Mike, and Cary. Kat being my coach. Chris was one of my first one-on-one coaching students for a couple months, which was amazing. All of you have helped me one-on-one with questions. So all of us have answered her behind the scenes with stuff that she needed help with, which is amazing. And she wanted us to know how much she appreciates all of us.
Oh, thank you.
Is awesome.
Nice. We appreciate you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Chris. Here's your dolphin. Super chat. All right, I have two more. I don't have Julian watching the bottom and me watching the top, so I'm like doing this number like I did in the old days. So I'm like, So I'm going to get these three. I see a new member too. Diane Villanueva sent a $9.99 super chat and said, thanks for this. Always learning a lot for these sessions. You're very, very welcome. We are very happy to help. Here is your super chat. All right. And then Miss Bridget. So we'll have the other dolphin and then we will get back to the questions. Miss Bridget just joined the channel membership. So thank you so much. I saw somebody in the chat ask about eBay store reviews. I just did them last night. We were actually live till almost midnight. I stay until I do them all. Sometimes that's really late. And I do them the first Monday of each month. So since I just did them yesterday, it's going to be another month before I do them again. If you want to join the channel membership, we will do those again the first Monday of April. So Bridget, welcome. Here's your dog. Welcome to the flipping family. And I'm an hour behind, so this is a lot of scrolling. Let's see if it didn't erase it. I'm like scrolling and scrolling and scrolling. I see Dom out there, Primetime Treasure Hunter. Hello, my good friend. Thank you for being here.
What's up, bro?
Hello.
I am on the end of this month I made it to the top 8. George did too. He's my competition.
Congrats. I was
Not
out
yet.
First round I was out.
No.
I have a lot of friends in the top 8. I'm like, oh, this might get a little interesting. Interesting competition coming up between friends. So we are coming up on the top 8 for that, which is amazing. Where did it go?
There
saw
are
you.
no
Where did you
friends
go?
in Thrift Battle.
None.
There are no friends. I'm going to put this up here and make a really special announcement, guys. So Tiffany Thrifting Vegas has a good point. She says you'll get as much as you're willing to put into it. That is 110% true. You've got to put in more if you want to get more. And my special announcement, Tiffany Thrifting Vegas and Danny, the niche lady, are going to be at my Sevierville, Tennessee camp as speakers. So both of them will be with us in the mountains of Sevierville, Tennessee at our eBay retreat camp. So George is my secret guest. He's not secret guest anymore. Now they're not. George will be at my Orlando one along with Richard Otnip Drop Flips, and Danny and Tiffany are going to be with us in Tennessee speaking. So that will be a fun one. So Tennessee still has, Orlando is sold out. Orlando is sold out. There are no rooms available in Orlando, but Tennessee still has private rooms and bunk rooms. So there's lots of space still in Tennessee, and that's in May. So you've got a couple of months to kind of plan for that one if you want to come. The Art of Reselling said, what about putting away 22 to 30% out of every sale for taxes? So yeah, my model is 20% out of after fees. I put 20% away for taxes. I don't know. Do you guys have a certain percent you put away or no?
I put it all away. I don't know. I don't know. I think that's a good way. I have a lot of young pickers who ask me, they're so afraid of this. And I said, look, start with 25. It's an easy number to remember. $100, it's 25. So start with an easy number. 30 is another one. Yes, you can do that, but start with an easy number and learn to be disciplined. It takes discipline to do this, and you have to do that. Otherwise, if you're going to go out, like Kat said, and you're going to spend everything, at the end of the day, the biggest problem with every business is payroll taxes and federal and state taxes. That will screw you up beyond all belief. So you don't want to mess with those. Those are the things you don't want to mess with. So you've got to just be disciplined and do it. 25% is a good number.
Just forget it. Like, put it into savings, forget it's there. Like, mine is sitting there. And then once my accountant's done with my taxes, if I don't owe that much, then I will put it in for reinvesting into the business and have a nice little bonus.
You're never going to regret putting too much away. So if you have plenty, then you'll have a little extra that you're happy about. So
yes, for sure.
I agree. And I do the 20% just because I know that with again, because I do a lot of real world stuff, if you're doing a lot of real world, you can take a lot of deductions. So I know I
drive all over, like not as much as George, but I have a lot of mileage deductions.
There's a lot of reason why I like to go to Vegas and pick, because it's like 6 hours away from me. But I mean, yeah, I pick there. So now those mileage.
It's a fun trip. Exactly.
Yeah, you can have fun as well, but as long as you're working, you can count it.
But yeah, every time I leave the house, I'm going somewhere on business. And if I'm not, I make a point to go somewhere on business.
Just stop real quick at a thrift store or something.
Where is that
right off all kinds of
Army? You know, you pull into Salvation Army, you look around, or Goodwill. The Goodwills are horrible here, but I pull in anyway, and I look around for 10 minutes, and if there's nothing, well, hey, I went to Goodwill. You know,
I went sourcing.
There you go.
But the thing is that I mean, honestly, for me, I've always put 20% in for that and 15% for a rainy day fund. You know, like retirement, or I mean, I probably will do this in some aspect until they pry the last piece out of my cold dead hands, because I just really like it. But considering that, you know, there might come a time in life where you want to also do other things. If this is your livelihood, well, you know, try to set yourself up so you can.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, I want to say too, guys, Florida has no state tax. So that's another reason why I only do 20%. We have no state tax here.
Yeah, just no state
to make that point. No state tax in Florida.
There's plenty of taxes here in California. You want a tax? Well, they probably got one. They got
I'll hang out here.
Remember, $7 gas coming, California.
That's so crazy.
Wow.
Mary wants to know if any of us have noticed, like, if you split your listings by doing some in the morning and some in the night, like, does that make a difference, like, to you?
No, it doesn't. It doesn't hurt. I do most of mine at night, and I do most of mine at 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock at night. But then sometimes on the weekend, I'm doing them in the middle of the day, maybe a few. So I sprinkle them. I don't think it matters.
Theoretically, I would say that could be a best practice, because you're getting a bump in the morning and the bump in the evening. But really, if you're just posting every day, I don't know how eBay's Cassini, the algorithm, works exactly. But I think if you're putting stuff in consistently, I don't know if it's every 24 hours or whatever it is, you're going to get results. But yeah, you can test that out and see if it helps. I could see it helping.
Yeah, I don't think it hurts. Yeah,
it doesn't hurt. Yeah.
I mix it sometimes. I mix it up sometimes with things like YouTube videos and stuff. I've got to be honest. I list when I can, and I've done it in the middle of the night, and I've done it in the middle of the afternoon. And I think it's more about consistently getting something on there, and it just, you know, it happens when it happens. I mean, you know, if you're listing, I think it's a little more relevant if you're doing a lot of auctions. And I'm one of the few people who still does auctions. But if you're doing auctions, then you want to maybe list so that the auction closes at a certain time, preferably on a Sunday evening when people are more likely to be at home on the computer shopping. You know, then it might have more of an impact. But as far as if you're doing a store or a lot of fixed price and best offer listings, I don't know that it matters.
Yeah. I do my auctions at 6 o'clock. I start them at 6 o'clock, and that's the only thing. And I have very few of those.
Yeah, I do mine I do Friday, Saturday, or Sunday night is when I like mine to end, like a weekend day. I think whenever you're more productive, for me, it's either really early or really late. Like either like soon as I wake up at like 7 or 8 in the morning, or like at midnight. So I would say it really depends on you. Like if you're a morning person, you're going to get a bunch more done in the morning. I would do it then. But everybody's different, you know, everybody's different. I think Carol just wants to know this. She wants to know, like, do we take daily or weekly payouts from eBay?
I do whatever daily is from them, I guess. That's confused. I mean, it just shows up. I mean, it does, you know, it's just a daily thing. I think I don't have weekly. It's whenever eBay decides to do it on a daily basis.
Yep. I'm the same daily.
Yeah.
I do weekly, and honestly, I wish monthly was an option because I pay all of my consigners on a monthly basis. I really don't. You know, I know that it's helpful to some people. For me, it's a real pain in the butt. I have to go look for 4 deposits from eBay and figure out what I got instead of just one. And I wish that I had the option of just getting it once a month. When it first happened and it was daily, it made me insane. Because, you know, one day I'm getting like a $500 deposit and the next day I sold a sports card. Here's 57 cents. And
Yeah, I do weekly. Yeah, I do weekly just to be nicer to my accountant, because the daily was like all these transactions for accounting purposes, and I don't like need to have that money every day. So I switch. I think the default is daily. But I switch mine to weekly just to have less transactions coming and going, to make it easier on my accountant to see. I don't know if anybody else promotes besides me. Carla's asking, how does promoting work? Do you use it, and explain it? What do they charge you, and what are the fees?
I do not use promoted listing, and the fees are variable, right? Compared to what it is. Yeah. So the fees are different for each category or item. Yeah. I do not do that.
Yeah, I've changed up. I didn't used to for a while, and I promote everything now. I just go trending rate. So it depends. I mean, there's probably a lot more nuance if I wanted to get into it and really think more heavily about it. But I just do trending rate, which is sometimes it's 2%, sometimes it's 8%. I don't usually go much higher than that. And that if it works to sell your item, then you owe that percentage. A lot of times, half the items I sell aren't via promoted listing, so there's none of that percentage, which is interesting. But yeah.
I have dabbled with it a little bit, and it honestly seems like it helps a little bit. I don't think I've done it enough to really be able to explain it to you. It's still kind of experimental to me. And it really depends on the item. When I do my 20 listings that are in the bonus video that go to the members, that is my promotion. I'm promoting it to my members on my YouTube channel, and they're getting first dibs. And so I don't promote those items because I'm actually wanting the members to have a chance to maybe get them first. And so I don't want to promote them to a bunch of other people.
Yeah. So Carla, you turn it on or turn it off. You choose the percent from 1%. Cary said he does trending, and what trending is that's the average that all sellers across eBay in that category, the average of what they promote at. I do trending plus 3%. I promote high because I buy low, and I get more volume of sales that way. So in the end, I make more money. It only works if they click on promoted. Like Cary said, not all sales are promoted. So only if they clicked on that listing that eBay bumped up because you paid more. And that link is for 30 days. So if you turn promoted off and that buyer clicked it, if it's within 30 days, you're still going to get charged that promoted fee, even if you have turned it off. It is 30-day length once you turn it off. And the fee, again, could be 1% up to 30%. I cap out at 11%. I do trending plus 3 with a cap of 11, so I won't do more than 11%. And it's as long as you want it. I have mine on my whole store forever, but you could set it up to only be for a month. I would caution against promoting high and then turning it off. eBay does not like that. I've learned that firsthand. I chopped mine in half from 10% to 5%, and my sales took a nosedive. So I would say if you're going to lower it, I would lower it slowly. I wouldn't just whack it in half because it didn't like that. But it's really, really variable. And somebody else asked about an auction, and that's kind of the same thing too. They were at, I saw the question like, how long is it? What's the price? That's all determined by you. You fill out how long your auction is. eBay has 3, 5, 7. Do they still have 10-day?
Yes, I think they still have 10 days.
And then you can put your minimum if you want to set a reserve. It's all set up by you depending on how you are doing it. And real quick, and then I'm going to grab the super chat before I forget. Vanessa said, how do you block someone? I have someone harassing me. There's a quick link in the eBay Seller Hub on the main page that says block bidders. It's like under the like shortcuts, I think.
That's one of the few you can find.
Yes, you can find how to block.
You can find block bidders. That's pretty easy. It's right down, usually in the middle. It's right there. Okay. Yes. I know that. I know that.
George, there was a question it said for you. I saw Zeno respond, but I did not see the question, and I double checked. Guys, we have 600 people in the chat, and I have learned all of the comments do not come across the StreamYard. I do not see them all when there are like so many. So if I'm missing your question or not seeing it, I have kind of checked YouTube versus StreamYard, and I have not gotten, I looked at an exact timestamp, and I have not had all of the comments. All right, hold on. I'm going to find I'm not used to this now. I got spoiled with Julian, helping me do all this stuff.
Well, there's neat finds from Naomi, gave $5 and had a question, and then Otnip drop flipped.
That's Richard. He's the other guest speaker, George, but he's the other guest speaker with you. Okay, here's the question for George from Naomi. Two signed Ansel Adams. Would you send them to the Ansel Museum to have them authenticated? I have provenance from the family that they got them from Adams.
That's a big question. It depends on the provenance that you have and how strong it is, and whether you think you can represent that in a way that people are going to believe it and not expect you to also have an authentication. Authentications can really be worth it, and you can make a lot more money with a COA sometimes. So it might be worthwhile, but it really depends on what you have. I mean, if you have something signed by Ansel Adams that's the receipt, oh, I'm so glad you like my pictures, well, then, you know, you probably don't need a museum's word to say that too. If it's more like, oh, I have a thing where the mom wrote down, oh, yeah, we got this back in the 50s, and I'm pretty sure we got it from the guy, well, then you probably have to have it authenticated. Museum authentication is an interesting thing. Some museums do it. Probably the museum that carries one particular artist's work would do it for you. Museums do not do appraisals. They are not in a position to give values on anything. So, but they are in a position to do authentication sometimes. But the way I would approach it is to ask them, do you do authentications? If not, do you know someone who's an expert on Ansel Adams who would do the authentication? And then you need to find out how much that's going to cost. I had a Masters golf tournament signed flag that I listed on eBay. We knew it was authentic. I tried to sell it. I had one person interested, but they wanted a COA. A COA was going to cost $175. We would have made more money on it, but I took the thing to a show, and a guy walked up and he saw it in the flesh and said, well, obviously those are the real signatures. And I told him what we knew about it, and he just bought the thing. And we got a little bit less because he was going to go and spend the money and take the time and get the COA and then have a more valuable item. And I was happy to leave money on the table because it meant I didn't have to wait 3 months to turn that thing around and get a COA and get the thing back and ship it and insure it and ship it back and insure it. So, you know, it's really, it really kind of depends on what provenance you have.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
I remember, I'm glad you sold that piece at the show. I remember watching that video when you put it up. Yeah, all right, Naomi, here's your dolphin, and then we'll get Richard's. Super chat. Richard's giving it to all of us. He said to Cary and Mike and special co-host George for all the great info and knowledge. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, thank you.
That's very nice. And now I'll expect you to send me $2.50.
Yes, exactly.
Hey, don't forget after they take the 30%. So we have to divide $7 4 ways.
We have fees. There's fees.
Oh my gosh, the fees. YouTube gets a lot of fees.
YouTube gets
Richard, here's your dolphin. Super chat. I need a return to top button. I'm scrolling and scrolling and scrolling and scrolling. Hold on. It's a lot of scrolling. I have to write the time I was at. That's the only way I can know where I was at. Here we are. Teacher's treasure chest. What if someone wants to pay you through PayPal on Facebook Marketplace and ship outside of Facebook Marketplace? Would you get in trouble?
No, I don't do that, but it sounds like you might. I don't know. I mean, yeah. I don't do that.
No company wants you to talk on their platform and then sell outside of their platform. So I would imagine that would be against their terms of service.
Well, if you're paying on the marketplace, then shipping outside, would that be like using pirate ship? I would think that wouldn't.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Is that what they're going at here?
Wait, yeah, maybe I misunderstood.
Ship outside that. Yeah, you might be able to do that.
Yeah.
So I do it, and it probably is against their terms of service. I will not lie, because they want their 5% from Facebook Marketplace shipped. But if a buyer asks me and wants to pay PayPal direct and I have no fees taken out, I do it. Because I have PayPal protection. Now, if I feel like they're kind of scammy and kind of questionable, I'll say, no, you need to buy it through Facebook Marketplace. But there have been several occasions that I have, like there have been some people that just cannot figure it out for whatever reason. They're not really good at technology. And in that case, I will send them a direct PayPal invoice and they have paid. And I haven't had any issues come up with that. But it's not, I don't think Facebook monitors the messages like eBay might for you contacting somebody. And you're really not contacting them off the platform. Because, I mean, if they did local pickup, Facebook doesn't get a cut of that, you know. So I don't think it's as horrible as like if you did it on eBay.
Well, Flippin' Goodies is saying that they're not collecting any fees until July and that's a new thing they're implementing. So who knows?
Like on local? Are they going to try on local pickup?
No, that's what I think they're saying. I'm not really sure.
I hope not. I mean, there's no way for them to enforce that. I don't feel like they don't know who the heck comes.
I think they're just, Facebook does this from time to time where they don't charge any
free
fees at all.
seller fees. Yeah. And a lot of times that, Mike, that's only for new sellers. Like one of my members last night said that Facebook just increased to 6% in fees from 5%. So I think they're trying to entice new sellers to come into Facebook Marketplace shipping with the 0 fees. I'll have to look because I have a few Facebook sales going out tomorrow. Souljoy Art, what to do if a book gets lost in media mail USPS? You refund your buyer and you eat it. There is no insurance on media mail.
Yeah, that's a tip though. Here's a tip. If you've got an expensive book and you want to ship it media mail, don't. Okay. Yeah. You've got a $200 or $300 book. At that point, you've got to
do not use media mail.
Do not use media mail. You know, that's the thing there is. So I don't know if you lost a $5 book or a $500 book, but the thing there is if you don't care where your money goes, send it with the United States Postal Service. They'll find a way to screw you up.
And you have to expect in business a certain amount of losses that you can't control, and you could write them off. So.
Yeah.
And that's the same with doing first class not insured, guys. Same thing. You're out that money if it gets lost. I just had one. I had to refund $40 for a necklace that got lost. But my rule for me is I don't ship it priority unless it's over $50. So it was sitting in New Jersey for the last 3 weeks with no movement, and it was first class. So I refunded them immediately when I went and researched and saw the tracking, because that's not their fault. So that's just, that's part of doing business. Mr. Jeremy has a question for George of the Antique Jungle. That's great, George. I like that. George of the Antique Jungle. What's required to get an appraisal license? I'm more interested in the required education involved versus the actual licensing.
Okay, cool. Well, this is pretty easy. The first thing to tell you, and this surprises a lot of people, is there is no such thing as a license for antique appraisers. It does not exist. However, if you want to be one and you don't want to get in a lot of trouble or do things wrong, I suggest that you take a course through I went through International Society of Appraisers. They teach a great course. I've also trained through CAGA. They teach you the same thing, but honestly, if I hadn't had the prior training, I'm not sure the CAG training would have really meant as much. But there are organizations that teach you. The important thing is what they call USPAP, Uniform Standards of Professional Appraisal Practice. And those are primarily standards and ethics. The appraisal organizations don't teach you merchandise. You have to come with background in the field, but then you want to go through some sort of a certification process and be a certified appraiser, because if you don't have that certification and you don't put that in your reports, even if all of your information and your numbers are right, they can call you on the carpet in court if it went to that, for example, because, well, you don't say anywhere that you don't have a vested interest in the product, or that you've done it to the current appraisal report writing standards, or that, you know, there's just a lot of things that you want to know and have that language in a report if you're doing appraisal reports. So I'd say go through an appraisal credentialing organization that teaches USPAP.
Perfect. Adriana, just real quick, because Mike was saying about the cart taking it to UPS. I'm asking, you can take it to UPS and charge it to the buyer. I took 2 Ethan Allen chairs and literally carried them into FedEx and sat them down and walked away. And my buyer had a FedEx account, and they dealt with them on the phone. They paid the packaging, the shipping, everything. I just literally, they paid me on eBay for the chairs. I walked them into FedEx and dropped them off, and they dealt with everything else. They called like I told them the closest FedEx office where I was going. They called with their account number to pay for it. I don't know, Mike, if that was the same with your car.
That's the same thing. It's people that we were talking about. They have money. They don't care. They want those 2 chairs. That's what it is. Yeah, yeah. Exactly.
And the shipping was probably way more than they paid for the chairs,
yes,
just like in Mike's case.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mike, I don't know if you saw this in the chat. They were asking the name of your VHS tape that sold for so much.
Raiders of the Lost Ark. And again, people ask, now this is something that you've got to be a little careful within VHS tapes. It is a certain one that will sell for the top dollar. You have to look for, this one happened to have, down on the bottom, it said, coming May 25th, Temple of Doom. That was the difference maker. Okay, so there's always a trigger on these. You see all these VHS
like
tapes.
Little promotional something on that.
Yeah, the back can be different. You got to make sure they have this, you know, like I notice a lot on the sealed VHS, they're going to say like MCA all across it, or Paramount.
That's
You're going to see the little stamp.
Yeah, the watermark. You have to have the watermark. And the second one that I sold within 10 minutes after that one was Star Trek, The Wrath of Khan. That one sold for $1,500. So with 10 minutes, I sold $6,000 worth of 2 VHS tapes.
That's so crazy.
That's insane. That's awesome.
2 different buyers. 2 different.
Yeah, that is awesome. Ken wants to know if we have a certain sell-through rate that we like to see if we're buying something to resell.
I just wanted to sell. I don't. No. I mean, obviously, I don't want to see 0. Okay, you know, if I'm looking, I like to look to see what it is, and the item is specific. That too, that plays a factor. How many? If it's constantly selling, that's a no-brainer. It's when you have to decide between 1, 2 sales, how long tail, all that kind of stuff. So
I think
I'm
sorry, Mike.
I
think as time goes on and you become more of an expert in whatever niche you're working in, like I do a lot of sports cards, so I know this guy is popular at this moment. So I see that there's a couple sales, but I know it'll sell for various reasons. The product just came out. This player threw 5 touchdowns Sunday, you know. So you're going to learn that as time goes on. But really, I don't have a particular sell-through rate. I'm not calculating it.
And a lot of times you want to control the listing and maybe be the only one. I just sold something that I was the only one on it. It had sales, maybe 1 or 2 over time. Now I control that price. And I asked top dollar, and it sold for top dollar. So, yeah.
100%.
That's what you're shooting for.
Yeah.
200% would be lovely.
Yes. But in reality, no, I don't pay much attention to that because, again, the nature of the things I'm selling is different. It's kind of discrete. What I do look for, though, is I look to see if a whole bunch have sold or a whole bunch are sitting there unsold when I'm doing the listing and trying to decide what to put on there.
Yeah, and I don't have a big one either, but I would say if you're new, pay attention to it because with experience, there's a lot of different variables that come into play. When I was newer at it, I wanted to see 50% or higher. So if 100 are listed, I'd want to see 50 sold. But I do a lot of one-off items as well. And I actually, I have a bunch of Medique pottery that there were only 20 listed. I picked up 60 pieces and I'm priced at 3 to 4 times what the rest are. But guess what? I have 80% of the market. So let those other 20% sell, and I'm getting ready to change the game because I know in the past his work has been worth that much money, And I feel like it could be again. And I have enough, like I have the majority of the market. You know, I have 80% of the pieces. And I sold 4 bowls this week for $250 when people had dropped the value down to $40. And they sold. And I think if that's using WorthPoint to see a 10-year history, and I know that like people were willing to pay this. And if you're okay waiting, then you can price it up and sit, you know?
That's it.
For sure. It's so, yeah, I love, like, I sold $500 worth of his pottery last week. So I'm only $200 away from being in the profit and have over 50 items still left of his. So I'm happy with that. And I'm just like, no, I think it's worth more. Like, I'm not going with the market. You know, I think it's worth more. I know historically it's sold for more, and I'm going to be the one to change it, you know?
Yeah, I think you got to be patient. See, that's when you get better at this and you become like we've been selling for a long time. There's certain things where you're just going to say, I'm going to be patient. I don't have to. You're going to get hit with a lot of offers. Because I said, like you, Cary, best offer on everything. Yeah. You're going to get guys all over the place. I just sold the Pioneer amp, the same thing. You're going to get guys go 150, 175. And you see 14 watchers, just ignore best offer. You almost want to go in and turn off.
Best offer, yeah.
Yeah.
It doesn't even mean you have to take those offers. Sometimes I use it just to gauge interest. Oh, I got 10 offers right away. I'm not planning on selling it for less.
And I sold for full price. So it's a game of patience on the bigger items. You don't want to give away that profit on those items that you are going to make good money on, because there are going to be people in there who are going to try to get you to sell it to them for 50, 100. I mean, it's wild.
Yeah. Yeah. And let it sit there, and then look at offers individually though. If it's been sitting there a year, and sometimes you might have to recomp, because if you listed it a year ago, the average price might've been one thing, but yours has sat there so long, the average price is lower now. So if you get a low offer on something that you had a long time, I will go recomp that item and be like, am I priced too high? So I kind of know like if I should take that lower offer. Christina, thank you so much. Dalton is in the house. So since his sister is here for the week for spring break, I am like out the window because he doesn't get to see his sister much. He gets to see her once a month for college. So he's like, bye, Mom. I'm going with sister. He loves his older sister. So he's happy she's here for the week, and he's attached to her hip right now. Teacher treasure chest for the sales tax number. It depends on the state. I would call your, what's it called? The tax collector's office?
Or the state board of equalization. That's in California.
We don't have that here.
In California, they call it, I have no idea, they call it the state board of equalization.
And in Washington, it's the Department of Revenue. But one of those things is most states.
Yes.
Yeah, just call and they'll tell you how in your state, because it's different for every single state. So we can't tell you like a blanket way. I'll tell you in Florida, we can apply online and have it like the next day.
Yeah.
To print out.
You should be able to do that. George, real quick, I got a question, because I haven't done the reselling thing, the certificate, since I've had my business. Do they still have to file every month or quarter, even if they don't use it to resell? You know what I mean? I don't know what kind of
that probably depends on the state too. I started out small, and so I registered for annual, and even though they have suggested many times that perhaps I would like to do it quarterly, I have never taken them up on that suggestion. So I just continue to do it annually, because you know, it's a bunch of forms and it's a bunch of, I put the money aside. It's not that they couldn't have the money quarterly. I just don't want to fill out 4 forms. So it really is just kind of up to the state and what they require. And my personal feeling is, again, we all have a lot to do. So whatever the least number of times a year, they will allow you to do it. And sometimes it depends on, you know, it's scalable with what you expect your income to be, you know, sign up for the least number of times, but they'll tell you what they expect. And I'm sure it varies state to state.
I think Florida, we have to do quarterly. We have to do 4 times a year.
See, when I got down, I started out, it was quarterly, then it was monthly because of the size of my retail business. But I will tell people that we hear people complain all the time about eBay. Right here, the state sales tax thing that they collect for you is worth every penny of your fees. That one particular thing. Let me tell you, with the equalization board, if you sell something in one county or one city, their sales tax is different. You got to track that stuff. And I got tripped up many times in my business. And I asked why. And you don't think about it. Well, if you take a delivery truck into another city and you get in an accident, you're using their service. They get you every which way. So eBay is 100% worth every penny I pay. I don't care what anyone says. I have problems with them, but
yeah. Florida was the same, and eBay just started collecting for Florida in July last year, and my accountant had to go through every Florida sale and look up every county and get their like discretionary tax, and we had to report for every single county. And so I'm sure my accountant's like in heaven now that eBay collects for Florida, because that was a ton of work.
In Washington State, because I have retail locations, every city, if you do a show in a city, that city, Washington especially, every city has a different tax rate. The state is 6.5, and then the local adds whatever, and they're all different, and they give you this code of like 1,000 different ones depending on where you sold the item. So yes, it can be a little complicated.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Twilight Huntress, do any of you have a favorite book resource as a go-to on antique, vintage, glassware, pottery, etc.? Or do you look online only?
So I don't do glassware, so I have nothing there.
Same with me for the most part, very little.
Yeah.
I would say it really depends on the category of glassware or pottery, but there are wonderful old collector's reference books. And I know that there's a, I never can remember, Misty at Thrifter Junker Vintage Hunter could tell you right away, so you can message her. But there is some sort of an online website where you can buy used reference books pretty cheap, mainly. Like
I remember she told me that too when I was looking for my Kachina book.
Yeah, exactly. And I'll tell you, those old reference books are great. The prices may be different now. A lot of times they're less, sometimes they're more. But what it will do is it'll at least show you relative value between different pieces in a line, but they have good histories. A lot of them have like pages and pages of catalog listings so that you can find your exact item, because your exact item may not be on eBay for you to find, or even necessarily WorthPoint. If you have WorthPoint, you may or may not find that.
I think WorthPoint has a resource library. I don't utilize that, and I probably should. I've gotten like a couple, like with the Medique pieces, because I spent a lot of money on them and got so many. I just researched him on the internet. I wanted to show this because I showed this to George. So I got this in an auction. Do you remember, George? And it has like, it's got, it's Lady, what is it, George? What magazine is it?
Ladies Home Journal, I think.
So this has got, look at all this pottery. This is from like the 1970s. And this is filled, this lady clipped pages out of magazines with like patterns. Look, like, it's so cool. So you can like look. So I just like, I'm keeping this. I think I'm going to keep it and just like thumb through it randomly with all my spare time I have, you guys. So yeah, I tend to go online. Go ahead, George.
Oh, okay. One other book too. And the reason I'm saying the old books is because online is great. There's a ton of great information, Google Images. There's so many ways you can get information now, but I like the old reference books in terms of if you're really, since you specifically asked about glass and pottery and that sort of thing, in the heyday of those categories 30 some years ago, everybody, including me, wrote a book about some company. And so there's this really deep dive that somebody already did for you that you don't have to do. And that's why I like the old reference books.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I mean, Schroeder's Price Guide or Cavell's Price Guide, if you want a general one that talks a little bit about a lot of different things, is another really good source.
And do those have like photographs, George, where they can like compare and identify? Or is that more of just a price guide?
That's more of a price guide. Yeah. The ones that are specific to a company are the ones where they're, you know, when I did the Treasure Craft pottery craft stoneware book, I've got like 650 pages, and a lot of them are old catalog pages. So you can see everything they did in a line. And it's just so much easier than having to pick through a million listings to say, well, mine's not exactly that one. It sort of looks like this.
Yeah. And be able to identify it specifically. Miss Georgia said, question for George or all of us. George, primarily, she wants to know, do you have a regular group of helpers or like workers? I'm assuming she means for your estate sales in Florida and Kentucky. And what do you do if you're in an area that's new to you and you don't have like employees or workers in that area?
Well, I'm really fortunate because I've got some family members and extended family in Florida who like it and are willing to help. I've got some mall owners in Washington who are kind enough to let me send merchandise to them when I'm away for a long period of time, and they'll take care of that. And I do have some associates there for stuff, and in Kentucky as well. Xenomorph is really great with helping with all the tech and a ton of other stuff. You know, I could not be so mobile and so all over the place without. Now, having said that, a friend of mine in Florida's mother had a friend in Maryland who just really needed somebody to do an estate sale, and she just didn't trust the people in her area. And I went and did a sale in Maryland, and I basically had to hire temporary workers from an agency and teach them enough to help me for a sale for a weekend. And I'll tell you, that was quite a feat. But we made it work, and you know, it's one of them loved it, and now they're a picker and a dealer. So it works out sometimes. But yeah, you do the best you can. I mean, it's you know, it's amazing. The good thing is that people like doing this. I mean, they think it's fun, and so you know, you usually can find somebody to tempt until they realize
Mike and Cary
stuff.
Sorry, Mike and Cary, do you guys like ever, like Cary, I know you go sourcing in Vegas, and like Mike, do you ever have to like hire people to help you with like the sourcing or moving or anything like that?
No,
or do you just primarily do it?
I do it all myself. Yeah. I'm just local basically right now. That's
Me
it.
and my girlfriend. Yeah, we just handle it. If we can't, we don't get it.
Yeah. And like my mom comes and helps me. Not a ton, but like, and my daughter, now that she's working for me, like the auction I was bidding on earlier is down south in Venice Beach, but I want to go collect shark's teeth. It's like shark tooth capital of the world. So I'm going to go, but she asked me like, Mom, is that something I can do to make more money? So she's offering, like, if I buy stuff 2 or 3 or 4 hours away, that she will drive and go pick it up. So, and then like when I went to Alabama, I brought a friend, you know, to kind of help me go through the estate and stuff. But I mostly do it myself because I don't do like the estate sales like George does. Yeah. And hi, Dave, Tesla Picker. Glad to see you in here, my friend. Katrina Watson wants to know, have any of us ever sold plush, and is it a good category to focus on?
That's an interesting question. I want to learn plush. Really, I really do. I probably have missed so much in plush. I sold a Donkey Kong one that was really good because it stuck out. But there's so much plush when you see it in the bin and you go, oh my goodness, what do you do? Sure, I think plush is really good. I think the guy that sells the most of it, here we go, Commonwealth Picker. I think Kevin. I'm going to go back here. I've never seen it. Kevin sells a lot.
Kevin sells a bunch. I mean, I sell on Whatnot, which is a live auctioning app. And just yesterday, we probably sold 60, 70 plushes in our auction. I sell a lot of plush. A lot of it is, you know, I get for $0.25, I sell for $5. Some goes for 15. Yeah. And then the nice stuff, like the Squishmallows or the vintage stuff, the old stuff with like the wood chips in them and everything, that goes on my eBay. But yeah, no, plush is great. Plush is a treasure trove. There's an abundance of it. It's typically cheap at a thrift store. But the only major issue, much like mugs and other things, is they do take a little time to sell. I have kind of a hack with my Whatnot auction, but in general on eBay, they'll sit for a little bit. But they're huge. There's a lot to learn. It's like antiques. There's so many brands, so many genres.
And there's a lot worth a lot of money.
A ton.
Yeah.
A ton.
I think Kevin just sold one. Like a wooden bear one, like, you know, it's the same kind of thing. Like
$300.
Rushton, the rubber face, that is high dollar.
Yeah,
Rushton is high.
So yeah, so there's so many categories, right? But plush, I want to do that. I want to learn more about that, but it's so hard. It's like glass. I get triggered in the glass aisle. I'm just like, oh, I don't know what to do. I'm like, lock up. I literally lock up.
That's my favorite thing about reselling in general is you can always learn more. There's so many areas. It's so fascinating. If you're curious, if you're a curious person, you can go, I want to learn plush this year. Put it in the treasure trove of all the other stuff you already know a little bit about and become an expert, hopefully, in that as well.
That is absolutely the right answer. Yes, because certain makers really high end, certain pieces really high end, and it's so all over the place. And then you get into character collectibles, and I get the feeling I've sold a little bit on Whatnot, and I am still trying to figure out if there's any way to attract women to Whatnot. But I noticed that if you've got characters that appeal to men, they sell, they sell, they sell, they sell. I mean, it seems like a very male focused audience on Whatnot from what I've seen so far, and certain categories just go and go and go and go.
Yeah, we do a general. We just started this. We're one of the first couple people who have done like the general picker auctions in the other category on Whatnot. Yeah, and we'll do everything. And we do get a good amount of female viewership that comes in, and the plush sell really well. And certain things we get people asking for home decor, because Dawn, my girlfriend, does a lot of like mid-century modern stuff and small items, not the stuff that we can't ship. And yeah, it's growing for sure.
Yeah, I have done plush, but I'm kind of hit or miss if I'm picking it up. I like the biggest one I remember, I got a South Park Mr. Hanky Poo. It was a plush piece of poop. I paid $1. It sold for $55 in 10 minutes. $50 profit on poop plush. If you just look it up, but beware, like Cary said, it is longer tail, and plush takes up room. You can't really squash it.
Yep, that's true.
So it can take up a lot of room, and you got to worry like dust and, I'm in Florida, so humidity is something that can affect that. So you would need to make sure it's a climate controlled area. But other than that, yeah. I am going to answer this, and then we'll answer one more question because we're right at 10 o'clock. We still have 600 people in the chat. So thank you all for hanging with us so long. T Peddler, doesn't List Perfectly have the background remover tool? And I also pay for photo room? Yes, List Perfectly gives it to you for free. And yes, I still pay for it because I am an eBay lister. So everything I do, I want to sell similar on eBay. So I sell similar on eBay, which means I need to have my photos already background removed. And then I put it into List Perfectly. That's just my preference because I think it's easier. So I don't build my listings on List Perfectly. That's not something I choose to do. But if you wanted to build them from scratch on List Perfectly, they do provide you with photo room for free as part of your List Perfectly subscription. It's just like, I just have my set way of how I do things, and that's just how I do them. And that includes doing that. And that's answering Lucinda's. Yes, I did switch to photo room because of the batch option. 50 photos at one time is complete game changer. All right, I'm going to give the last question to George, and then I will let everybody say goodbye and tell you guys what they have coming up. Cha-Ching King wants to know, George, do you buy out remnants of estates or negotiate that in another way with the owners, or how do you deal with the leftovers?
First, I try to find someone who will buy out everything. That used to be a lot easier than it is now. And so then if that doesn't make everything go away, and I think there's still things of value, then I will make a reasonable offer for what's left. Sometimes I'll take it on consignment. We'll deal with that way for the things that are worth doing. Then the rest of it gets donated to the thrift store, because there is so much merchandise in the world, and there's only so much storage space and so much time and bandwidth on my part. So I do what I can. I don't typically buy out of estate sales before I conduct them because it's a conflict of interest. So hopefully other people come along and get most of it. Like Kat said, she came down on the end of day 2 and got a bunch of stuff.
Filled my car. George helped me. We packed it as full as it would go.
Exactly. I'd rather see it go to some other reseller, frankly, than have to deal with it again. Because honestly, I also, I'm getting a percentage for selling it, and I've also had to look at it for a week or 10 days. And by the time it's over, I'm kind of like, yeah, I'm done with you.
Yeah, for sure. All right, guys, I'm going to let these gentlemen all say goodbye, and then I'll tell you what I have coming up. Definitely subscribe to all three of these guys if you have not. And to all three of you, thank you so much for coming on with me. Yep. And Next week, George is back as my co-host, and we have Primetime Treasure Hunter and the Auction Professor. The Auction Professor has never been on.
Nice. That's going to be a good one.
We're going to have the Dawn and Dom show on Cat Show, which will be great.
Wow. That'll be
I'm excited to have them on.
That's a good one.
I picked 2 good weeks to be here. This is great.
It's going to be fun. That'll be a good one, George. Yeah, you're going to have fun there.
For sure.
Yeah.
All right, here's Mike to tell you guys bye.
All right, thanks everybody. And hey, if you want to learn FBA books on Amazon, check it out. I'm going to be doing a lot more videos about Amazon FBA books. There wasn't many questions about books tonight, but I'm doing a ton of books right now on Amazon FBA. So stay tuned and check that out. And thanks for watching.
Here's Cary.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate being on here. You can find me pretty much everywhere. I'm American Arbitrage. You can follow my girlfriend, Lady Arbitrage. We're on MySpace, everywhere. Just anywhere you look, we're there.
The good old MySpace days.
Why not, right?
Here's George.
So you're the one that's still on MySpace.
I'm the one.
Oh, that's great. Well, I'm George the Antique Nomad, and you're going to see me on lots of social media. I've got Monday and Wednesday premieres. You're welcome to come chat with us. So tomorrow will be my next video. I've got to go finish it after this. I'm doing a drop sale as part of it. A whole bunch of us are doing drop sales one after another in a row on Thursday, and mine is at 10:30 Eastern PM. That's where it's just basically a fixed price sale, and if you want it, you comment and it's yours. And then beyond that, I'm going to be appearing with Kat in April in Orlando and other stuff. I'll have more real world shows coming too. And I do intend to sit down and list a whole lot more stuff on eBay, because I have a lot of things that really would sell there better than where I go. So you'll see more.
All right.
All right. And my internet has been crazy. That's why you guys keep seeing me go in and out tonight. We got a supposedly better internet, and it has not been impressive thus far. It took like 3 hours to upload a video yesterday, which it hasn't done in over a year. And I'm like, yeah. So tomorrow at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, I am doing my monthly live sale. We do a live auction on Yvonne Thrifty Rich channel. And that, now that I'm not doing nursing, will be set the first Wednesday of every month, because we were having to alternate it because I had to work some Wednesdays, but now it will be the first Wednesday of every month after tomorrow. So Yvonne and I will have some really cool stuff up for auction. And then I also, like George, do Monday and Wednesday premieres as well. I do mine at 8:30, hoping George's are 30 minutes. Sometimes they're longer. But I do mine at 8:30. George's are at 8. So I do mine right after his. And I think tomorrow I'm going to show my, from the Jacksonville reseller meetup I went to last weekend with Adventures in Reselling Victoria. I got some really good stuff at garage sales. So I think I'll show the footage from that, tomorrow night. And then Friday's going to be a high dollar what sold video. So yeah, so next time I'm up is tomorrow, 6 p.m. on Yvonne's channel, and I'll share that out either tonight or tomorrow morning. And definitely check these guys out, and don't miss next week with Dawn and Dom. That is going to be, and George it's going to be an amazing show. So we will see you guys next week at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I hope you have a good night. I'll see you guys tomorrow.